What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2 and just a mini, new hero spotlight. Today we're going to be talking about the Nuke Monk. I've been promising this one for several days. We all know that there's an update coming that we don't have any information about yet. We're going to be getting more information about the update on Monday, but we're not going to know all the nitty-gritty until the update actually comes, and we don't know when that's going to be. Now, with that in mind, this hero spotlight could completely be changed as soon as the next update hits, and I don't suggest that anyone make any rash decisions or massive changes to their setups prior to that next update hitting, as we just don't know what's going to come. We don't know what new additions are coming in. We know some of the older weapons of the game are coming back. We know they also said there's going to be some new weapons, and I'd like to assume with that lovely addition of poison as an element in the game that there's going to be a new elemental combo that we're not going to want to disregard. So keep all that in mind going into this spotlight, as this will fix you up right now if you're wanting to build out your Nuke Monk today. However, if you've already got one built and you're using it, just keep using it and wait for the update to come, and don't spend all your resources on changing a setup that may not be valid in a matter of weeks or a month. Now, let's just talk about what the Nuke Monk is. There's two different styles of Nuke Monk. There's a pet Nuke Monk, and there's the hero or last hit Nuke Monk. Now, the pet Nuke Monk is absurdly fun to play. One problem with it is it's just not viable in high onslaught. So as soon as you get to the point where mobs have more than, say, 125 million health, you're gonna want to go away from the pet nuke, as it's just not gonna get the job done for you. And this really is where the last hit Nuke Monk will really shine. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. Now, first off, taking a look at the pet nuke. Now, both of these styles of play are extremely similar to each other as far as the builds go. They're very, very dependent on hero damage and hero damage related mods, shards, and stats. Now, with that in mind, you want to make sure you're using a pet that is a hero damage burst pet. So things like the Table Flipper is going to do 2,750% of hero damage, exactly the same as the Snowball, except the Snowball comes from water damage, 2,750%. There's also Rock Toss that comes from any earth damage pet. There's also things like Gatto Fireworks that comes on any Gatto pet. Now, my personal favorite is Gatto Fireworks, without a doubt, just because the projectile looks cool, it goes fast through the air, and just is pure awesomeness. There's nothing better than one shot in a siege roller from the other side of the map with your pet. It's just a wonderful thing, and I encourage everyone try it out. Now let's take a look at, say, the Table Flipper. You know what, let's go with the Snowball. Now, Snowball is available on any pet that has water damage. It doesn't have to be this Protobud. It can be any pet at all that has water damage. You can roll Snowball on it. So if we go ahead and head down to the dummy, give ourselves a little boost, and we're going to see that Snowball, wow, that hit really hard. Snowball hit for 2 million, or pardon me, is that 200? That was 200 million damage. Snowball just hit for 200 million damage, which is a little on the absurd side. Let's take a look at one more shot as soon as Snowball comes up. Until then, let's take a look at the Table Flipper. So if we give ourselves a little boost and we throw that table, 199 million damage. So right there in the same range. They basically do the exact same thing. As far as the damage number on the tooltip, they are identical, but you see there is some slight variances between the two. And then if we go with Gatto Fireworks, now Gatto Fireworks isn't going to be one projectile, it's multiple projectiles, so you have to add all its damage together. As you see, it was 3 projectiles hitting, still doing that 199 million damage. Very, very good stuff. I'm surprised that my pet nuke is nuking for this much, to be honest with you. I am completely shocked. I did not expect 200 million, 199 million numbers, so completely absurd. The pet nuke is a lot of fun. It's super easy to use. It's push button damage. You hit 2 buttons. You hit your boost, you hit your pet, you got big damage. Lots of fun to use. I encourage everyone do it. Now, the last hit nuke, this is where the real power comes in. The last hit nuke, of course, is focusing on the last hit of a swing sequence of a weapon. Now, this is only viable with medium or heavy weapons, and heavy being the better of the two, as it's just gonna hit harder. So if we look at the swing cycle of a heavy weapon, we see this one is heavy. It's got 4 swings. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 being the big overhead swing at the end. The last hit, or 4th hit, is the hit that we're going to be looking at. Now this means that your first 3 hits, they can't hit anything. So you got to swing 3 times in the air. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 for the big enchilada at the end. Now, if we take a look at the amount of damage it can do, it is just pure absurdity. So we're going to use Dragolich this time around to get that awesome just overall debuff on the enemy. So I'm doing double damage, and we're going to cast our boost. 1, 2, 3, Drago, and 4. We see that hit for 1.27 billion? Is that right? Let me double check that again. That just seems like it's hitting just absurdly hard. Let me load my crane stance up again. We'll get into all these mods and shards here in just a moment. Let me let Drago come back up off a cooldown. In fact, let me see. Do I have another Drago that's leveled and just sitting here? I don't. Looks like I put them all away. So we'll give Drago just a second to come off a cooldown here, and we'll try this shot one more time. And Drago is just about ready to go. Now, I was expecting this hit to be over 1 billion, but I was not expecting it to be 1.2. That's just a really big number. So let's try one more hit here. So we're going to boost. 1, 2, 3, Drago, 4. Sure enough, 1.274 billion damage. That's billion with a B. Oh yeah, the big one. So that is where the last hit nuke comes massively into play in High Onslaught. High Onslaught, of course, you're going to end up having mobs with just ridiculous health. Seeing a mob over 1 billion health is a quite common occurrence once you get up into a few hundred floors. And then, of course, as we know, the guys that are pushing through those 900s, every single mob on the map has got 2.14 billion. So, wow, just lots and lots of hero health on these enemies in High Onslaught. That is why the pet nuke is, although it's amazingly fun, it is not viable once you push into that level. Now we're talking at a minimum probably floor, I don't know, floor 150 maybe? I think floor 150 would be a good cutoff point to stop using a pet nuke altogether and focus on the last hit nuke. Now the last hit nuke will require a little bit of practice, as you do have to get that 4th hit down. But once you get it down, oh my gosh, it's just so mean. Alright, let's get into the gear. Now first things first, as I mentioned, this is a hero damage build. With that in mind, any set of mods that focus on hero damage are going to give you fantastic results. However, there's always going to be a best in slot. Now, I personally am not going with the highest end mods in this setup. There's a few different reasons why, which I'll get into those in a moment as well. However, mods like Power Chip, Healthy Power Chip, Damage Buff Chip, even Mana Burn Damage Chip, anything at all that's hero damage related is going to net you amazing results. Now, there's been lots of changes since mods became a thing, mods working, mods not working. Currently, the best thing you could possibly use in this setup is going to be Quintuple Chip, Heavy Chip, as we're using a heavy weapon, and then for a third mod, it would kind of be your own decision. If you're using like Life Leech or Life Steal from Ancient Power and you're always full health, Healthy Power Chip would be the place you wanted to go. If you constantly cast your buff every single time it's up, then maybe you want to go with a Damage Buff Chip instead. On that same note, if you cast your buff all the time and your mana's always low or you're running out of mana, well, Mana Burn Damage might be right for you. That third mod slot is kind of up to you. So you want to go with Quintuple, Heavy, and then either damage buff chip, healthy power chip, or mana burn damage chip as that third slot on every piece of armor. Now, in addition to that, on every piece of armor, you are going to want hero damage as your secondary stat. Don't sacrifice the hero damage. Get all the hero damage on there. You've got room for some hero health on your weapon, as you just don't need to use ability power at all in this setup. So best in slot would be Quintuple chip, Heavy chip, and then the third mod of your choice. What I personally am using is Healthy Power, Quintuple, and Damage Buff chip. Now the reason I'm not using Heavy is pretty darn easy. Light weapon swings on a monk are the coolest thing ever. It's so much fun. I love playing the monk with a light weapon, particularly if I'm using the pet nuke setup. Now, currently, I'm at a state where I'm going through and re-gearing heroes and grinding in Chaos 7. Although that big damage from the last hit sure is nice, I want to play around with the pets, and I want to have fun with the pets, and I also want to play around with my light weapons, as like I said, I just love the swing speed animation. So putting Heavy chip on there is not going to help me out when I have that light weapon, so I'm going with a more versatile build that's going to allow me to basically use any weapon I want. Now, I did leave Quintuple chip in there because no matter what you're using, light weapons, heavy weapons, medium weapons, you're always going to want your weapon to be 4 shots per second and 5 projectiles. 5 projectiles, of course, triggers that Quintuple chip, and Quintuple is not acting exactly like it says. If you read the tooltip for it, damage to quintuple projectile weapons. It's not actually doing that. It's in-game, behind the scenes, it's actually giving you what appears to be like a raw hero damage boost, which means Quintuple and Heavy chip as well are affecting other mods, other shards, the pet, and anything at all that can be affected by hero damage, assuming you have the appropriate weapon equipped. Since I've got a Quintuple weapon equipped, then of course I'm getting the benefit of Quintuple damage all the time. Now, the reason Quintuple and Heavy are so good in that regard is they're 100% uptime. There's no downtime at all. Of course, Healthy Power chip is more hero damage. Damage Buff chip is more hero damage. Mana Burn damage chip is more hero damage. However, they don't have 100% uptime. So if you want that 100% uptime, you're going to want to go with with Heavy, Quintuple, and then the third of your choice. Now, moving right along to the shards, there's only a few required shards in this setup. I'm going to get to the weapon mods completely last. In case you're curious, I did not forget about those. There are a few required shards. Now, we're going to go shard by shard. I'll tell you what's required and what's not. Now, first off, in the weapon, we're using Burning Strikes, Life Leech, and Drenching Strikes. I'm using Burning Strikes. We all know why. The Drakenlord, he's a huge pain in the butt. I'm keeping Burning Strikes on at all times now, just because, although it's not the best shard in the world, it is igniting the Drakenlord. It is giving you additional damage. And as you read the tooltip, it is basing its damage off of hero damage, and this is a hero damage build. So it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's going to make it so it's a no-brainer anytime we run into the Drakenlord. I'm using Life Leech because you know the old saying, dead heroes do no damage, so keep yourself alive. Life Leech is going to help you out in that regard. And then I'm also using Drenching Strikes. Your primary attacks have a 38% chance on hit to drench enemies for 7 seconds. Now, none of these shards are required shards. I personally would definitely suggest Burning Strikes and Drenching Strikes. We'll get into Drenching Strikes interaction with the rest of the build here in a moment as well. None of them are required though. Use whatever shards you want. These are just the 3 that I really like. Now going to the head, we've got Inspiration. We're going to reduce the cooldown of our abilities by 39%. We got Worm Scarf, reduces damage that I take by 19%. And then we got Heroic Boost, which is certainly not even close to being good. The reason being is we don't have any ability power, so our Heroic Waves heal is absolute poo-poo. This is making it a little bit better, but it's not enough to even sweat. This is just what I use. If you like another shard in your head slot, by all means plug it in. None of these shards in any way are required for the build. Now moving on to the gloves. I'm using Beacon of the Storm, Critical Strike, and Construction. Now Construction is more of a convenience thing. It helps you upgrade faster. I do a lot of upgrading during the combat phase as I don't want much downtime in between waves. So Construction helps me out there. That's about it. Definitely none of these shards are required. I would highly suggest Beacon of the Storm. Beacon of the Storm is from Chaos 4. And I would highly suggest Critical Strike. More crit chance, that's kind of a no-brainer. Good stuff right there. That is going to come from Chaos 1. Now moving on to the chest, we've got Heroic Power, Power Gambit, and Bulwark. Heroic Power, I would say, is a required shard for this build. It's going to drop in Chaos 5. If you're not in Chaos 5 yet, you're still going to be a beast, so don't sweat it. Just get Heroic Power once you get to Chaos 5. You can build with this build all the way from the campaign as long as you just focus on hero damage. Power Gambit is also not a required shard, but one that I would definitely suggest. It's going to drop in Chaos 7. And then Bulwark, just back to my survivability, I want to increase my armor by just a touch. Now moving on to the boots. Speed Boost. Everybody's got to have Speed Boost. Get your Speed Boost in there. It's the biggest quality of life shard in the game. Campaign level, come on, get the Speed Boost in and run faster. And then Crane Stance. Crane Stance is from Chaos 1, so it can be achieved very, very early, and it is indeed a required shard for this build. Now let's take a look at the weapons. There is currently a weapon combination in the game that is so absurdly strong and so ridiculous with lane clearing that I suggest you try it out on any single hero in the game. Those that watch my live streams, you've heard me say it about a bazillion times. Frostfire Remnants and Grave Infection are just beast mode. Frostfire Remnants is only going to drop from the Drakenfrost Keep map, and it's only going to drop when that mod is in town. The Drakenfrost Keep mods are on a weekly rotation, and they rotate every month. So Frostfire Remnants is here once a month. Each week, there's a different mod, 4 in total. So Frostfire is only going to come around once a month. It is actually here right now as we speak. However, it will be gone come Monday night at midnight Eastern Time. So make sure you get Frostfire Remnants before then if you don't have it already. Now, this is pretty commonly sold in shops, so you can check other players, and, there's a good chance it's going to be there. Grave Infection goes with Frostfire Remnants way better than Peanut Butter and Jelly go together, let me tell you. Grave Infection is just really good. Grave Infection and Frostfire work hand in hand together so well, they actually will proc each other. Both of these are weapon shards, so they are considered weapon damage. So Frostfire Remnants will proc Grave Infection, and Grave Infection will proc Frostfire Remnants, and this leads to just absolute absurdity. Anyone who has tried these together has said, wow, oh my god, this is crazy, as this is just a sweet, sweet mod combo. And then Focus Power Chip. Focus Power Chip, I'm going to go ahead and say, is indeed a required mod. If you don't have it, just get one when you can. Don't sweat it, but you're going to want it before you get to end game. If we see here, this Chaos 7 Focus Power Chip is 56% increased weapon damage for each ability on cooldown. Now, this includes your pet. Your pet is considered an ability. So before we do our big nuke, of course, we're going to hit our boost, and we're going to hit our pet. So we've got 2 different abilities on cooldown, which means we're getting 2 stacks of focused power, giving us a greater than 100% damage against that individual enemy. This stacks up just insanely. Now, I talked about Crane Stance earlier. Crane Stance is definitely a required shard. Crane Stance means your secondary attack is going to stack up damage for your primary attack. As you see, it stacks 6 times. Now, this means that If you charge up your secondary attack, you see the crane stance buff directly under my nameplate up in the top left. If I use my secondary attack, it's going to charge that up. It goes up really, really quick with a 5 projectile weapon. You see the little itty bitty number 6 in there showing I've got 6 stacks of crane stance. Now when I have 6 stacks of crane stance up, I'm getting my next primary attack, which ideally is going to be my nuke. So the 4th swing, 636% damage. 636%. 6 times the damage on my next primary attack. Now, this is just absurd because we also know we've got focused power here. So we're getting 6 times the damage, and then guess what? We are going to more than double that amount because focused power is giving us the 2 different stacks. This is where these absolutely ridiculous, absurd monk nuke numbers come from, is from these 2 particular shards interacting with each other. Or pardon me, this shard and this mod. So focus power is going to interact with crane stance and give you just silly, absolutely ridiculous numbers, as you saw earlier on the dummy. Now, once again, Frostfire Remnants, Grave Infection, any hero, try this combination out. No matter what your favorite DPS hero is, try these 2 mods out. It's just too good to pass up. Now, I can't stress enough how important, when I say just wait and hold off before you make any drastic changes, don't go spending all your resources changing your setup. As we know, we've got an update coming that we don't know what's in it. We know it's a lot of mystery. So don't make any drastic changes yet and spend all your resources, as you may end up regretting it if this build changes again after this next update hits. Now, of course, if there is major changes to the build, I'm going to post them up right here as soon as the update goes live. Now, taking a look at the Ascension, really, you've got lots of room on your Ascension. You want to do 2 things. Well, 3 things, I guess I should say. Your first points in utility you're going to want to put into Hero Crit Chance. After you get Hero Crit Chance maxed at 20%, you're going to want to go to Hero Crit Damage. These 2 are the only important things in the entire utility category. Of course, this is a DPS build, so the defense category doesn't matter at all. As you see here, I'll also build Skyguards with this particular monk. So this is my Skyguard monk as well. I put all Skyguard points in defense. And then if we take a look at the offense category, heroic boost damage, 20 points, gots to go right here. Now this is only increasing it by 2%, but it is an important 2%, so get your first 20 points in the offense category into heroic boost damage. Now after that, it's going to be a balance. You can or cannot, it doesn't really matter, go into heroic presence heal. I put them in there because I have 4,000 Ascension, so I've got plenty of points to go around. These points are not important at all. Put them in if you want, don't put them in if you want. Doesn't matter either way. And then the balance between hero health and hero damage is at your comfort level. Now obviously, you gotta have enough hero health to stay alive, so put as many points as you want into hero health to get to a point where you're comfortable. Right now, as you see, I'm rolling around at 531,000 health. When and if I decide to do another big onslaught push, I'm going to take all of these points out of hero damage and move them right into hero health. Just because the more health you have, the merrier. By all means, jack it up. Get that hero health as high as you can. Any additional points past where you get into your comfort level, you're going to want to go ahead and put right into hero damage. Hero damage is literally the big enchilada of this build, and it's the only thing that really matters. So that is the current Nuke Monk setup that I'm using. As I said before, throw together whatever hero damage related stuff you have as far as mods, and you're going to have really, really good results. So just try it out, check it out, see what you think. See, there was a non-crit there for 806 million damage. Non-crit, oh yes, that is indeed what I'm talking about. So the Nuke Monk is just a beast. It's ridiculously powerful. Without a doubt, it is the one-shot master of the game. There is no hero in the game that can hit one shot for this much damage. the Nuke Monk is where it's at. Go check them out, get your Nuke Monk dialed in, and then look forward to what's upcoming, and hopefully we get some changes to the game that let us supplement the Nuke Monk and make it even better once the next update rolls around. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. I will be back real soon, you know that, with some more Dungeon Defenders 2. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.